Hi everyone, in this video we would like to introduce the new LogCleaner version 6. So the first thing to note are these changes in the user interface. We try to tidy it up a little bit and just make it more concise. If you click on this more cleaners, we still have the old individual little cleaners, but we strongly encourage you to carry on using the universal cleaner as it's quite powerful. So let's get into that and have a look. Now the first change that appears here is actually more in the background. As of version 6, config files, which fully encapsulate all the configuration you might do for the cleaning of a certain type of log, are now of type JSON and not XML. So if you load a config, you will still be able to load one of your old XML config files, but it will be immediately translated into JSON. And the old XML might be deleted, so make sure you keep a backup somewhere in case. JSON is just more versatile. It's easier to edit if you want to open it with Notepad. Now, as for the other features, let's go ahead and load a file, a log file that I have here. Not much changed on this page. Here, we're no longer needing to specify which column the data starts on. It's always going to be in the first column here. And then we've started and implemented everywhere the fact that when you select a variable, you always get this dialog, which makes it a lot easier to find your variable, especially if you have a lot of them and there's a search bar to find them quickly. Also, note that it gets now, whichever you select, the rows get highlighted, so it's easy for you to check that it's the correct columns. And there's also a bunch of checks that are done. For instance, if I specify that this was actually like in a different format, if I click next, it will tell me that no, we've tested this format and it does not seem to be in this format. Are you sure? And then we go back here and say, no, this is actually a default normal date format. Similar comments for latitude, longitude. Moving on, we are now in the variables page. So the big news here is that you can actually now type comments for your variables. For instance, on some boats, you might have a variable called heading 1 and heading 2 coming from different compasses. Well, you can write it down here, and that way it's a good way to remember which one is which. Now, we're also going to introduce a new feature in some of the electronics. For example, you might have different sources for your speedo. It could be coming from a paddle wheel, it could be coming from maybe a quadrants, and sometimes you want to say, no, the boat's going so fast that the selected speed is actually just coming from the GPS speed over ground. In that case, in the log, you might have a variable called boat speed cell, which is just a number from a coded number where 1 means paddle wheel, 2 means quadrants, 3 means something else. So we can see it here. We've got some 1s and some 2s. The problem is that gets a bit cryptic. If you later use that cleaned file in Race Replay, it'll show 1s and 2s. So for that matter, we have introduced a new feature here called convert number to text. And let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to add a new number. We're going to call it boat speed source. We want it to come from the number variable boat speed cell that we just saw. And then we're going to add a mapping. So the mapping is going to be number 1. It's going to be paddle. Maybe number 2 is coming from my quadrants. And number 3 will be GPS. Now, if there's any other numbers that appear in the original log, in the output log that LogCleaner comes out with, there will be a question mark. So it doesn't matter if you forget some of the mappings, there will be a question mark. So let's click OK on that. Now we get to this almost final stage where we have to specify the output. So we now have a couple of blinking icons here, which just inform you, be careful. It seems that the output is more of information more than a warning or an error, just telling you what you specified as an output it does not seem to match what you have in input, which can be fine. You might decide that in your output file, you don't need to have date and time in separate columns. You just want it as a timestamp. and with the format being default. The only good thing here is it's letting you know. Here's another one, and that's a new feature as well. You can now decide to change the outputs. Like in our case, we had a CSV file as an input, which had, so it's a comma separated values. All the fields are separated by commas. It could be that you'd rather, for some reason, have the output be of text. And then in that case, the field separator will be a tab. If you're happy with the input, you can just click same as input. It gets back to that. And then this warning here disappears. And that's pretty much it. All the rest will work just as it used to. You can now clean that. So that's cleaned. And let's just open it here. And maybe open the results with Excel. And as you can see, we do have this boat speed source that now has paddle at certain places and quadrants at others.